Most snakebite fatalities in India often occur unexpectedly, not because the snake was fast, but because they saw it and didn't think it mattered. They had seen something like it 100 times before, and nothing happened. Until it did. India has over 300 species of snakes. Around 60 are medically significant. 4 species are primary contributors to human deaths. They call them the Big Four. And if you ask most people which one is the most dangerous, they'll say the cobra. They'll say it with confidence. And they'll be wrong. Not slightly wrong. Completely wrong. The hood, the posture, the mythology. The cobra feels less like an animal and more like a symbol. That's exactly the problem. Because the cobra is not what's killing people. Not at this scale. Not even close. Something else is. And most people walk past it without ever realizing what it is. Picture a dirt road in rural Maharashtra. Late afternoon. The kind of heat that makes the air look slightly wrong. Slightly bent. Sugarcane fields on both sides. Tall enough that you can't see past the first row. A farmer walks the edge of the road the way he's walked it for 30 years. Same path. Same time of day. Same worn sandals. He almost steps on it before he sees it. It's not coiled dramatically. It's not rearing up. It's just lying there, partially across the path, doing almost nothing. Brown, patterned, thick through the middle, in a way that feels slightly wrong for its length. Maybe 70, 80 centimeters. Not enormous. Not the kind of thing you'd photograph. It looks honestly like something you'd step over. And that instinct, that one small miscalculation, is where the story begins. The Russell's Viper. Deboya Russelli. It was documented in the late 1700s by a physician who studied what happened to the people it bit. What he recorded was not a creature of mythology or spectacle. It was a creature of outcome, associated with severe, well-documented health consequences. It doesn't have the cobra's cultural weight. It doesn't have the theatrical threat display, the raised hood, the ancient iconography. What it has is something more unsettling than any of that. It has numbers. The Russell's Viper is estimated to contribute to a higher number of snakebite fatalities globally each year than any other snake species. Not just in India. On Earth. Estimates place the global figure somewhere above 25,000. Likely far more. Most bites happen in rural areas. Many victims are unable to access immediate medical care. The snake itself doesn't know any of this. It's just living. But here's the part that changes the picture. It doesn't look the way danger is supposed to look. That's the core of it. That's what explains the numbers. That's why it kills more people than any other snake on Earth. The Russell's Viper is, by certain measures, beautiful. Its back is marked by a chain of oval patterns, dark and sharply outlined, distinctive, almost deliberate. Field naturalists describe it as distinctive, textbook, unmistakable if you know what you're looking at. Most people don't know what they're looking at. It blends into dry leaf litter in a way that seems almost unfair, into the edge of a sugarcane row, into the loose soil at the border of a rice paddy. It doesn't need to hide aggressively because it doesn't need to. It's already invisible in the places it chooses to exist. It doesn't live in remote wilderness. It lives at the edges of human life. Field borders, irrigation channels, the spaces between crops. This animal has built its entire existence around the same landscape that rural India has built its existence around. Same water sources, same food chain, same rhythms of planting and harvest. They have been sharing the same space for thousands of years. The difference is that one of them adapted perfectly to it, and the other one forgot to stay careful. During the day, it's mostly inactive. It rests. It thermoregulates. It does very little that would draw attention to itself. In the cooler months, particularly during and after monsoon season, it moves more. It crosses paths, literally and figuratively, with more people. Farmers work longer hours during harvest. Children play outside. People walk routes at dusk that they wouldn't walk in the middle of the day. This is when the numbers spike. Researchers call it the harvest season effect. Snakebite incidence rises sharply during agricultural harvest periods, when humans and venomous snakes are both most active in the same terrain at the same time. The Russell's Viper is central to this pattern in a way that no other species quite matches. And here's where most people's understanding of snakes breaks down entirely. They think the danger is in the strike, the fangs, the moment of contact. And yes, those things matter. But with Tiboia russellii, what happens after the strike is where the real story lives. The venom is not simple. This matters more than almost anything else about this animal, and it's the part that even educated people often don't fully understand. Most venomous snakes use venom that works in one primary way. Russell's viper doesn't. It doesn't pick a lane. It hits multiple systems at once. It disrupts blood, destroys tissue, attacks the kidneys, and sometimes the nervous system. A physician treating a Russell's viper bite is not treating one problem. They're triaging a cascade of problems, some of which won't become visible for hours. A patient can appear stable and collapse hours later. Most people don't die from the bite. Complications can unfortunately prove fatal days after the initial incident. Even when initial recovery appears positive, the kidneys are often the final battleground. Severe kidney damage following Russell's viper envenomation is a significant factor in snakebite mortality worldwide, not the initial venom load, not the tissue destruction. The organ failure that follows days later, quietly, when the crisis seemed to be over. That's not the snake being cruel. That's just the biology. But it's a biology that overwhelms healthcare infrastructure that wasn't built to manage multi-system failure in a patient who, 12 hours ago, looked like they might be fine. There's another layer. Something that doesn't show up in the headline statistics, that gets lost in the mortality figures, that the number of deaths doesn't quite capture. Survivorship. In regions where Russell's viper bites are most common, a significant percentage of survivors don't fully recover. Survivors may face long-term health challenges, such as kidney impairment, requiring ongoing medical support, hormonal imbalances affecting the pituitary gland, visual impairment, and severe tissue damage that may necessitate advanced medical interventions. These aren't rare. They happen again and again. The death toll understates the impact. That's the uncomfortable truth. Because survival doesn't mean recovery. A community that loses one person to Russell's viper has lost one person. A community where 3 people survive with chronic kidney failure, where the healthcare system absorbs the cost, where families lose their primary earners for months of recovery. That community has absorbed something the mortality statistics don't fully show. Antivenom exists. It works. When administered correctly, in sufficient quantity, within a reasonable time window, it reverses the envenomation process and saves lives. This is not a disease without treatment. The treatment is known, is produced, is available. The problem is the gap, and the gap is where people die. The gap between the bite and the treatment. The gap between the volume of antivenom a severe Russell's viper bite requires and the volume that rural clinics actually stock. In some parts of India, that gap is 30 minutes. In others, it's 6 hours. 6 hours is a long time when the venom is working. Researchers and public health organizations have spent decades trying to close this gap. Community education programs, frontline health worker training, improved antivenom distribution, and progress has been made. But the Russell's viper is not slowing down. It's not retreating. It's not adapting away from human spaces. If anything, as agricultural land use increases, as more of India's landscape is converted to farmland, the overlap between human activity and this snake's preferred habitat grows. Stand in that sugarcane field again. Evening now. The light has gone flat and orange. The farmer from earlier is still working, cutting and bundling, moving between rows. He knows about the viper. Of course he knows. His father talked about it. His neighbors have stories. He knows the pattern, the chain of oval spots, knows to watch the edges where the cane meets the soil. But knowledge and attention are not the same thing. Attention is exhausting, sustained, daily, never quite fully relaxed attention across an 8-hour workday in heat that makes your eyes swim. Eventually, something else demands it. A tool, a conversation, a calculation about the harvest weight. And in that second of redirected focus, you step somewhere you didn't look first. This is not a story about carelessness. It's a story about time and probability. It's probability over a lifetime. Walk the same fields enough times, during enough seasons, with enough moments of ordinary human distraction, and eventually the probability catches up. Most farmers in high-incidence regions know someone, not a story they heard, someone they knew. That's a different kind of knowing. The Russell's viper will outlast almost every threat we can name. Habitat loss, climate change, agricultural pesticides. None of these have meaningfully reduced its population. It adapts. It survives almost anything. It finds rodents wherever humans grow things, and humans grow things everywhere now. There is no version of rural India, No version of South Asia's agricultural landscape where this snake is not present. It is not a visitor. It is not an outlier. It is a permanent resident of the same landscape that hundreds of millions of people call home. Night has settled over the field now. The farmer went home. The cane is still. The air has cooled enough that the insects have changed shift. The daytime ones gone quiet, and the night ones starting up. Somewhere in that field, a Russell's viper is moving. Not quickly, not dramatically, just moving the way it always moves, low to the ground, reading heat signatures, following the trail of something small and warm. It isn't hunting you. You're not on its list. You're just sharing the field. But the field doesn't care about intentions, and the viper doesn't care that you didn't mean to be there, and it won't be thinking about you at all until it has to.